This is Lesson 18 from Unit 4 entitled The Bill of Rights Part 1. So our TEKS, we can summarize the rights guaranteed in the Bill of Rights, that we can describe the importance of the free speech and press, and that we can analyze the impact of the guarantees of religious freedom on the American way of life. So the Bill of Rights was the first 10 amendments to the Constitution ratified in 1791. These were written by James Madison, and we discussed him as the person who had guaranteed to the states of Virginia and New York that a Bill of Rights would be added to the Constitution for their support of ratifying the Constitution. Originally, there were 12 amendments to the Constitution. 10 of these were ratified, and one of the ones that wasn't actually became Amendment number 27, which was ratified in 1992 and had to do with congressional pay. So, let's continue here. And the First Amendment, the one that probably most people are familiar with. And we like to call these our 5 freedoms. And for our class period, we call them the RAPs because they are the freedoms of religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. So let's discuss what those mean. Freedom of religion is sometimes also referred to as separation of church and state, which is a term coined by Thomas Jefferson. And that means that the United States government does not have a national religion and does not favor one religion over another, nor does it interfere with the rights of people to worship as they choose. One impact of this is that we are a nation of immigrants, and many of those immigrants have brought their own religions in. So while the first colonists, the first founders that we studied were Christian, they had been followed by Jews, Muslims. This is actually a symbol for Taoism, but a number of Eastern religions. People in this country are free to practice the religion of their choice or to not practice religion at all. And again, government does not play favorites, nor does it interfere with their right to worship. One example of separation of church and state is that churches do not pay federal taxes. Next comes the freedom of assembly, and this is the right to gather together in groups for purposes of discussion or protest. This allows you to join groups and clubs that you would like to. It allows people to join political parties. It allows them to join all kinds of organizations. It also, including just hanging out with the people that you choose to and choosing your own friends. That you can gather together in protest. And now most protests require some kind of a legal permit, but again, we do have the right to publicly protest. Our next freedom is the freedom of petition. And while this literally does cover signing petitions, it's actually more broad than that. The original Bill of Rights says that the First Amendment says that this is for redress of grievances. And what that means is that citizens in this country have a right to communicate with their elected leaders. You can do this through petitions, but also through letters and voicemails. It means that you're allowed to attend meetings such as city halls or town halls or school boards, and that you're allowed to get up and speak with those officials. It just means that the people of this country are allowed to communicate openly with their government without fear of consequences. Next, we have freedom of the press. And this means that in the United States, our press is uncensored by the government, that the government does not control the free sharing of information and ideas. It also means that the people can choose the sources that they want to get their news from. And nowadays, we have more choices than ever. All of these networks, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, all provide the news and are all covered by the First Amendment. It also means that people have the right to read the sources that they want, whichever web pages or newspapers you wish to read. And the people have the right to participate in the press by publishing things such as blogs or web pages of their own. So again, we have a free and open press system. Then we have freedom of speech, in which we can freely express our thoughts and ideas. And the framers did this because they wanted to protect the rights not just of popular speech, not just of ideas that a lot of people agreed with, but of unpopular ideas. And the freedom of speech applies to those too. Now, one thing we need to understand is that freedom of speech is not absolute, and it does not mean that there are no consequences for your words and actions. For example, a private employer, if you say something at work that they find unacceptable, then you very well may lose your job. But no, you will not have the police knocking on your door the next day to arrest you for it. Freedom of speech in schools has also been an issue that has come up in a number of court cases. Students do have a number of free speech rights while they are in school. However, school administrators, And school districts also have quite a bit of leeway in controlling what is said and done at school as well. Then we have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. This means that the people have the right to own and possess firearms as long as in the whatever local or state laws are in place allow them to do this. Now in Texas, we tend to have some of the more lenient right to own laws in the United States. Texas, for example, has many people who have what's called a CHL, which means a concealed handgun license. They're allowed to carry their weapons as long as they are covered. And in fact, recently the state of Texas just passed an open carry law, which will allow people to carry their weapons in full view. It also allows people to have weapons for hunting, for home protection. So the right to bear arms in the original Second Amendment, this was also done with the idea that the people might be called upon to serve in militias without a standing army, that just like in the Revolution, the people might be called upon to protect and defend their country. Then we have the Third Amendment, which says no quartering of troops in private homes during peacetime, and we remember what this was put in for, right? If you remember the Quartering Act of 1765, in which the British forcibly quartered troops in the colonists' home. We saw how this affected Boston, particularly the Boston Massacre. So when they wrote the Bill of Rights to their Constitution, they wanted to make sure that this did not happen in the United States, thus the Third Amendment. And then we have the Fourth Amendment. This is the one that has to do with no unreasonable search or seizure. No searches or seizures of property without a valid warrant describing the place to be searched and the object to be seized. Now also that uncovers what's called probable cause. If a law enforcement official has reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime or illegal activity is going on, then they have their discretion to go ahead and search. However, that discretion very well may have to come up in front of a judge and see whether a judge approves that or not. Of course, we talked about also during the Revolution, they had the writs of assistance, in which British officials had the right to pretty much search anywhere they chose. The colonists did not want to, I should say, the framers did not want to see that repeated in the United States. So warrants must be place-specific and describe the object to be seized or have reasonable probable cause. So our Lesson 18 thoughts. Can you think of some examples where you and or someone you know have used their First, Second, or Fourth Amendment rights? So think about that and make perhaps an idea in your notes there, and we will continue with Lesson 19 and the rest of the Bill of Rights.